6 months. And in that time, I have some part-time work, which is decent.
Wait, I got to get you to start over again because I didn't do right.
Okay.
It's not you. I was not right on.
Okay.
Say your name again.
My name is Terrence.
Okay.
Okay.
Just pick up where you were.
All right. And I've been living in Atlanta for approximately 7 years. In that time, I've had about 3 jobs. But more recently, I've had jobs in the hospitality market, in the world of hospitality, where depending on the amount of people coming into the city, it's been less or more. So right now I'm working a part-time situation. But it's not enough to take care of what needs to be taken care of. Okay? It's part-time. It does not pay all the bills, rent, lighting, heating, gas, and all those things. So at this point, I think that we need to do something to increase either a certain industry in the city, and maybe in the nation as a whole, but definitely in the city of Atlanta needs some industry to increase to provide more permanent jobs. Most of the stuff we're doing now is either temporary jobs or something that's part-time, and that does not supply a lot. So I would like to see them do something in the world of industry and bring more industries here that are viable for people like myself and others.
Do you think it's possible for back in the 30s, when I was really a baby, they had something called the Civilian Conservation Corps, and the government directly hired people to do things that needed to be done. They weren't in competition with the for-profit businesses.
Okay.
But that's really the first environmental movement. It's where the national parks came from and all that kind of stuff. Do you think, well, I don't want to put words in your mouth. So I think that some kind of thing if there was some kind of way that guaranteed a certain number of hours a day or a week or a month so that you knew you could support yourself while you then maybe went to school or started a business or but you had some work you could count on.
Well, I think that the main important thing would be is to guarantee, even with some of the jobs, you don't get benefits, because even if you do get a job, benefits are not even allowed. They got the situation now where you can have a job and you have so many hours per week. If you're less than 30-something hours per week, or at 36 hours, they can actually literally say you don't have a full-time position and deny you benefits. So even that in itself provides another problem. So I think that it really has to be a situation where, people need to go to school, yes, that helps. But also it needs to be a situation where we consider the necessary elements of what it takes for us to live.
If you had some job security.
Yeah, some job security that you know is going to be there
that
for you.
If you worked, you wouldn't work 40 hours a week, but you would work enough hours, a livable wage on fewer hours, basically.
Exactly. I think that would be a great thing. It would help out in a lot of ways, because it would help you to definitely plan for the future.
Right.
Buy some things, plan for the future.
Like if you had 20 hours a week, if you had 1,000 hours a year for what is equivalent to an AFDC payment for an adult and a child, it's also about equal to unemployment.
Well, I can't speak with ACDF because I never took assistance.
Well, it's $12,000 a year.
Okay, all right.
So if you could work 1,000 hours a year for $12,000 a year,
okay,
that would average out about 20 hours a week with a 2-week vacation, right? Okay, which would be pretty nice. Now, $12,000 a year is not a lot of money, but it sure is better.
Something secure.
It would be secure.
Right. That sounds very good. Speaking of some people who definitely are working in construction and things like that, who don't have a real steady schedule, construction probably would be good for that. Certain people who work in the serving business, like servers, banquets and stuff, will like that kind of thing because they will guarantee hours a week. And people probably would do bartending things. I wouldn't say, because I worked as a bartender from time to time, and I can say that would have been a very great thing for me to have. Nobody had 20
My
hours
son
a week.
works as a bartender.
Right, exactly.
And he doesn't have a job when the season's off.
Exactly. When people leave the town and they're out of town and there's not a lot happening at the hotel or at the restaurant, then there's nothing happening for him. So then his pay suffers, and then in turn, his standard of living.
Okay, let's say you had that kind of security. Okay.
Okay.
You knew you could 1,000 hours a year. You might take them different times. You might take them when if you work as a bartender, then you might take your hours. In a law and then you, but then you would still get your pay.
Right.
Would keep coming in every month, even when the off season was on. Now, what would you do with your free time? Then you'd have real free time because you'd know you had. Because
X amount of money
idle time is not free time. If you don't have a job, it's not free time.
I think I would probably definitely, instead of going to school, learning something, maybe like language or something like that, but definitely go to school.
What would you study? What language?
Anything. It can be any language. It wouldn't really matter. I mean, I would probably study something different, like maybe Asian.
Yeah.
Because something that will guarantee you a future.
Uh-huh.
Something that is different from you, from the rest, that sets you apart from the rest. And you got time to do it, so why not?
So you might be interested in learning Arabic.
Mm-hmm. Could be. Definitely could be. Could be Arabic, could be Spanish, could be
But that's what you would do if you knew you had. If you knew you could make $12,000 a year with 1,000, because you could pick up other work, right?
Right.
As long as you had guaranteed those hours.
Right. If you had a steady stream of income, if I had that, I know I could have a steady stream of income, and anybody would probably say the same thing. If you had a steady stream of income, why not take the opportunity to go to school? Why not take the opportunity to expand yourself?
Okay. Now let me ask you, what would you be willing? Because people, some kind of jobs people might not be willing to do.
I don't think at this point. I think there's very little jobs that people would not be willing to do, because you're talking about a part of history where people are looking for industries to give them more. They're not giving them more. The automotive industry, folding. The business of a lot of the businesses and either utility companies are now consolidating. AT&T and Bell South are consolidated and become one. So I think there's very little jobs that people would not say I wouldn't do at this point.
You sound like a college man. Have you been to college?
I did some time in college. I did some years in college. I definitely did a few years in college. Didn't finish quite all my schooling, but I did some years in college, enough to get to my junior year.
Can I ask you a question you might not want to answer, but do you have a record?
Not a serious record. I have small offenses, but not a serious record.
Has that been used to discriminate against you?
In some places, yes, because the government jobs definitely look back 10 to 15 years, and that does play a role when they say, actually, have you ever been convicted of anything? With certain jobs, it's not a problem. Certain jobs, if you can look at it, they'll say, okay, that's fine, it's misdemeanor or whatever. Misdemeanor is no problem. Other jobs are very meticulous about what it is they want you to have. And they will look into it, and they will tell you they will call you back, but just don't call you back.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's great.